Hey guys, Train Freak here, and I've got 4 cars here, and I'm sure you're hearing all this mooing and buying going on because I've got all 4 of my cars here with Tsunami Soundcar by Soundtracks. Now, what I'm wanting to show you is how to program some of these cars. Now, I've already programmed this car in a previous video. This car is programmed just like it, except for one feature is a little different. But we're not going to go into those two tonight. Now, before I get into these 2 cars that still need to be programmed, I always want to remind everyone to, and to make sure you shade in that bell so that way you can receive future notifications on my videos. Speaking of, I've got an upcoming 200 subscriber giveaway contest coming up, and I'm going to open that contest up and come out with all the rules as soon as I hit 180 subscribers. The last time I checked, I'm really close at 175. So, another 5, I'll open that contest, and then we'll award a winner after I hit 200. Now, let's get on to the Tsunami Soundcar. If you watched my live stream on, I think it was either August the 2nd or August the 3rd, but it was last Sunday, I did on my live stream a full installation of installing Tsunami Soundcar in this mechanical refrigerator car. So tonight I want to basically go over the basics of programming, because if, you know, with these being defaulted values, it's set to, you know, locomotive number 3 defaulted for DCC, but you end up running into issues like this, and we all know that box cars and mechanical refrigerating cars are not supposed to blow the horn or ring the bell. So we've got to get these programmed to where they're going to do right. Now, one of the things that I do like to do with all of my Tsunami Sound cars is I do go and set them to the same address, which is a address of 5 in short form, or it might be long. I think no, address 5 in long form. And I just do this just to kind of make things simple, to make sure that it's not on default values, because if I do get another locomotive in, and whether it's mine or a customer's and I'm testing it, I don't want to try to program that locomotive on the main and have these on the main as well and end up messing with their CV values. So we definitely need to change these first and foremost. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I've got my beautiful wife here holding the camera for me, so she's going to be my camera helper so you can all see me. But the first thing I want to do is I want to hit this program escape button and get my screen to say select mode, program loco on main, and we're going to hit enter. Now, y'all, this is for NCE ProCAD, but NCE PowerCAD does the same. I'm sorry, I do not have a Digitrack system, DigiKeys, or MRC, or any other DCC programmer, so this is strictly how I program for NCE. Alright, so programming locomotive, you can see, is listed at 3, so I'm just going to hit enter. The first thing I'm going to do is change my address for 1, and I want a long address, so I'm going to press 1. Long address 0005. I had to find the 5 button and hit enter. Now, you probably heard the cars go beep, you know, and that lets you know that that value has been changed. Now, to make sure, we can hit escape to get out of programming. Or actually, I think it automatically escaped through, so I'm having to go back and... Alright, so now you can see we're at locomotive star 005. If I hit my horn, we know that we got the addresses changed. Now, since I've got these 2 stock cars programmed the way I want them, I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 off. Get those out of the way, so now we're left with the box car and the mechanical refrigerating car. And actually, to do this, we're going to have to program these one at a time. Now, before I get into that, some of the things that I wanted to mention, because you can use these Tsunami Sound cars for you know, dummy locomotives, cabooses, passenger cars, you name it. It can pretty much go into anything that you can hide it. I would not suggest putting it in a flat car or a open gondola, because then you're just going to see all the components. But it's got 11 different air horns and whistles, 5 different type of bells, and you can configure these to do specific type with clickety clacks. How many trucks are in the car, how many axles per truck. For example, like I've got a flat car over there with a load that's got 4 trucks with 2 axles each. If that load was hollow, I could possibly hide it in that, but then I would never be able to take that load off that flat car. So, but I also have passenger cars that have 3 axles per truck. So that, those are going to be some of the CV values that you want to get in there and change. And then, of course, if you got a livestock or stock car, the Beast Banner mode has 3 modes: off, cattle, and sheep. So that's just the basic thing that, Soundtrack sends with it. However, you can go online and print their manual. And their manual is, or their user guide, which I have printed, and I've got it separated because I've only wanted to go over a few pages. But it's a 50-page Soundcar user guide. It goes through everything as far as like generator control, clickety clack, your flange squeal control. Not just enabling, disabling, but going in there, doing automation on it. If you don't want it, you could take it out. Or you can lower the probability. Let's talk like flange squeal, for example. If you've got a layout that's got some really long straights on it, you probably want to get in there on your flange squeal and tune it down probably to like a 5 out of 255. 0 would turn it off, but 5 is a really, really low number, and you're not going to hear those flange squeals very often. Or if you got a layout that's got a ton of curves, then you might want to, bump it up to, say, 200. So that way that flange squeal happens more often. And, of course, the faster the car goes, the faster the probability. The same with clickety clacks. You can even, I think you can, let me double check. I want to double check before I say yes or no on that. I'm not going to say yes or no, but I mean, you can read it in here, and I really don't want to take the time to read it all. But flange squeal, you can, like I said, you can do the probability and increase it. So I'm not really going to dig down deep into that, but as far as doing the Boxcar, the one thing that I did want to show is Soundtracks was very nice to give us this little table here. Now, this table has to do with CV117. Which deals with, okay, what sound effects volumes are you going to have enabled? Your flat spot, generator, coupler, horn and bell features, clickety clack, flange squeal, wheel noise, which would be like your flat, I guess, more like flat spots. Or no, wheel noise is going to be the combination of clickety clack, flange squeal, and flat spots. And then, of course, your brake sound features as well, which I will get into braking here in a little bit. So, the common rolling stock types that they have listed is a cab car with a generator, a passenger car, or a passenger car with a generator, a freight car with a flat spot, a mechanical refrigerator car, and a mechanical refrigerator car with a flat spot, a stock car, and then a caboose. And so they automatically tell you which CV values to put in for that 117, which makes our job a whole lot easier. So let's start off with this cotton belt 40-foot PS1 Boxcar here. Now I got to turn my throttle back on because it times out, so that way my batteries don't run dead as often. Alright, let's make sure we can hear it. Alright, we can. And I think my batteries are dying on me. That's not good. Alright, y'all, so I had to plug this sucker in because I didn't want to wait and try to film this later because I would have to go get some batteries. I don't have the batteries I need. And this throttle, because it is a wireless one, does require 4 AAAs. And I don't feel like going to the store and It actually feels pretty comfortable out here. I'm sure you can hear my fan in the background, and that's just to kind of get the air circulating through here. But the weatherman said it's supposed to get bad, hot, humid starting tomorrow and this weekend, so I felt like I need to take advantage while Mother Nature's being nice to me. So, alright, so let's talk about getting these cars programmed. Now, let's make sure we can still hear the horns. Alright, we can. So I'm going to go ahead and take Green Giant, the Mechanical Reefer, off, because the one that I want to work on is this Cotton Belt Boxcar. Now, just to make sure that we go over this again, CV value of, or CV 117, the value that we're going to put this is at 244. Now, here's all the features that's going to be included in it. Is the coupler will be enabled, the clickety-clack will be enabled, the flange squeal will also be enabled, the wheel noise, which of course, like I mentioned, that's your flange squeal, clickety-clack, and the flat spots, that is enabled, and then of course the brake sounds will also be enabled. So I'm going to go back to Program Escape. We're going to program loco on the main. We're going to press Enter. We're going to program loco number 0005, Enter, and I'm going to hit 2 for CV. Enter CV number 117, Enter, and I'm putting it at a value of 244. Okay, 244. Which I think it might have took as my batteries was dying. So, alright, so that one should be fine. One of the other things, you know, we can try is I'm going to go ahead and hit increase fast. And I can hear the car, but it's not real loud. So, and I'm also going to change my speed steps from to 128. So I'm going to go ahead and put this at a speed step of 40. And I'm going to go back into my program while that is supposedly moving. And let's see, program CV2. So CV128 should be the master volume. And I'm going to put that at 255 and see if that gets louder. And it did. And it's probably hard for y'all to hear with the fan going in the background. But I'm going to get this right up on here. And I'm hoping y'all can hear this. And then if I hit the emergency button, and it sounds like all the air just went out of the tank. So, that's a really, really cool, neat feature. Alright. So I'm done with this car right here. I think I'm pretty satisfied with it. So I'm going to take this one off. Set it off to the side here. Now let's do our Green Giant Mechanical Reefer. Now we're going to do a few things different on this one. So the mechanical refrigerator car CV117, we have to put it at a value of 246. Now the only thing that is different on this one than the value of 244 is we're going to enable the generator. And that is because these mechanical reefers on one side of the car will have a refrigeration unit that runs, you know, typically off a gasoline or sometimes diesel. Probably more diesel than gasoline, I would assume, because diesel burns more, you know, efficiently. If this was a passenger car, I would probably want that generator on 24/7 or while that car is running. You know, because that was, you know, for climate control. But for like a produce car or a meat car, they would not run 24/7. They would be, they would have a temperature control, and they would only run if the temperature got so high, and then once the temperature got cold enough, it would, you know, shut off on its own. So we are going to enable those features tonight. Alright, so the first thing I want to do, I'm still on 0005. Let's make sure we got a horn. We do. So let's go to Program, And we're going to program local on the main. We're going to hit enter. It's already got my thing selected. So CV value 2. We're going to go to 117 and press enter. Now the system remembers 244 because of the last boxcar, but I'm actually going to put in 246 on this one and press enter. Now we heard it go did it. Now the generator is enabled for this car, however it's not automated. And so make sure I got my right page here. That's livestock. Quiet mode, flange squeal. Okay, that's not the right page. I think it's going to be right here. Yeah, generator control. Okay, so this has got 3 CV values, and I'm just going to kind of read these off to you. CV 112 is for your sound configuration. CV 132 is the generator volume, and CV 202 is the generator probability. Like I said, probability is how often does it run. The max for that is 255. That's going to be typically in a passenger car with a, for climate control, like I just said. Here, I'm going to leave it at its default value, which is... It doesn't say what its default value is. So, I'm just going to leave it alone because I did play with this one earlier and I have already factory reset it because I wanted to test it before I filmed. And it does on and off, on and off. One of the things that I will change is the generator volume. The default on it is 25 out of 255. And I'm going to boost that up to 128 and put it at half volume. Alright. So, the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to get back and we're in, enter CV number. And so the CV number that I want to enter is 112. Now there's only 2 bits for this one. It's an on or off setting. So 0 enables the sound to be controlled by pressing the function 9 button on the throttle, but you would have to be in that locomotive to do it. I'm going to change it to value 1, which automates it. Now, as soon as you heard it go did it, you could probably hear the sound of the generator. Now what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to go to the master volume 128 and I'm going to set that to 255. That made it sound a little louder. Now I'm going to go to CV 132, which is just the volume control on the generator, and I'm going to set that to 128, which is half volume. Now you can probably hear that a little bit louder. And that generator is just going to run and run and run until it gets tired. It'll eventually cut off, and then it will come back on in a few seconds. So we'll just let that run for a little bit because I do want you to hear that. Let's see here. Okay, so going back to the stock cars with the B-spanner and CV117, you're actually going to set that the same value as a regular freight car, which is 246. But in this case, you would actually go to, let's see here, CV226. There's 3 values, 0, 1, and 2. 0 is for no livestock. Okay, our thing just shut off on its own. It should kick right back up. But, like I said, CV value for 226 for B-spanner for the stock cars is, an empty stock car. If you want cattle in there, you're going to put it to a value of 1. If you want sheep in there, you put it to a value of 2. And y'all, there is a lot of different CV values to go over in these sound cars. I mean, these are full-fledged decoders that have no motor control. That's it. And there it kicked back on its own. So, alright. Now, the other thing I wanted to show, and I'm going to go ahead and add all of the other cars back on here. And let's see if we get some moo and baws here in a second. I still need to add current keepers on these. Now, if y'all go and actually purchase the electrical pickup trucks that, like this Boxcar, for example, picks up both trucks, both sides, you could probably get away with not using a current keeper. But if you did like my installation that I did here, where the front truck is picking up the right rail and the back truck's picking up the left rail, you might want to put a current keeper in there, so that way when you go over, turnouts, the frogs that are not powered, you're not losing your power. Or, of course, dirty track too. Alright, so one of the things that I do need to get is I need to get my magnet, so I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to come right back with my magnet. Alright y'all, so I've got my little magnetic tool that you can also purchase from Soundtrax. I do not know what that part number is, but it does extend. And it is just a little magnet on the end. But this is what we're going to use to consist the cars and deconsist them when needed. Now, for the time being, I've got both stock cars and the mechanical reefer off, so that way you can hear me a little better, because their sounds do get up there. And I could do a function 8 and mute them, but if I was to do that, then that kind of defeats the purpose of trying to hear me connect and disconnect. Alright, so I went ahead and selected a locomotive that I did a video on with installing Tsunami 2 sound in it. And that is the locomotive 9389. That was my bicentennial SD45T-2 unit. And we're going to imagine that that locomotive is fixing to connect to this boxcar. Okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my magnetic 1. Alright, and the sound that it made is, it sounds like the brakeman came over to the handbrake and kicked the lever loose. So now that car is ready to have air pushed into it. So now Soundtrax has got it set to where you can press the 8 button 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And Soundcar knows that, okay, I'm now connected. Yes, if you're asking, well, isn't the 8 button the mute button? That's why you press it 4 times, because it's mute, off, and every single car that you connected, you're just going to hear the air go into the air tanks, or the air reservoir, which release the brakes off the wheels. Now, if we was to speed up the car, and I've got it, and Amanda, you might have to get that phone close to it so they can hear it. And I'm going to go ahead and go faster. I'm at speed step 40. Now I'm at a speed step of, well, 80, which is too fast for freight, but typically 55 is most of the time your track speeds. I know there are some places where track speeds are 79 at the highest. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the emergency button, and you're going to hear the air dump, and it dumps out of the reservoir. Soon as you scroll your wheel, you'll hear the air go back in. Now, one of the functions that Soundtrax has, their sound, the Tsunami decoders, F11 is how you can switch from train braking or locomotive braking to train braking. Now, locomotive braking is defaulted. So what we're going to want to do is I'm going to do shift, or actually I need to have my locomotive going. Alright, so we're hearing clickety clack, and if I was to brake down real fast, you don't hear any braking because that would be coming from the locomotive. So I'm going to go back up to 50. We're hearing clickety clacks and flange squeals. I'm going to do shift 11. And that now I heard the sound of the air going back there to the poppet valve. And now if I brake real fast, you can hear the Amanda, go ahead and get that phone right up on it, because I want to make sure they hear this. Alright, now you could hear that the car was actually doing the braking. And the locomotive sounds will not brake. So, it's not really useful if you only got one car in your consist that does that. But let's say that you got a 20-car train, and you've got 4 or 5 of those cars spaced out pretty evenly. That's going to sound pretty amazing, in my opinion. So that's one of the features of the Tsunami Soundcar that I did want to share with you. And if y'all can, let me know in the video if you're not able to hear that. I will come back with this car and do it on a live chat when it does cool down here, because I do want y'all to hear it. And hopefully by then I might have more sound cars. And so that way you can hear like a full train if I was to dump it, and you can hear everything break through, which would be really, really cool. So like I said, just comment if you couldn't hear it. But that's pretty much all I've got for tonight. Like I said, I'm not going to go through every single page on this 50-page user's guide. You can print that off at Soundtrax's website. Just Google Soundtrax Soundcar User Guide, and it will give you a link to their PDF right there on Google. So as far as the pricing and stuff goes for the Tsunami Soundcar and all the parts that I used in it, you can go back and check my live chat from, I think it was August the 2nd. And I've got all that stuff in the description. So other than that, I'm going to let y'all have at it. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, because I do have that contest coming up. And I will have a contest coming up every 100 subscribers that I hit. So the next one's at 200, the one after that will be 3, 4, 500, 600, so far till I get to 1,000. When I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will do a really big giveaway. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but I will. And then the other thing is to make sure you click the bell and shade it in, because if you just click the bell and you don't shade it in, then you're going to miss out on that video when I open up those contests. Another thing, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but YouTube's got this funny thing on that if I have subscribed to your channel and you come back and subscribe to mine without, being interactive with my channel, YouTube will eventually kick your sub off. So you might sub to me, and you might get, your subscription to me might get removed by YouTube by default. I have noticed that on people who have subscribed to me in the past, and I've also found out that some of the channels I've subbed to, YouTube has taken me off, and I had to go back and watch a few things and comment and sub on it. So just to kind of bring that to your attention. So like I said, if you haven't subbed, make sure you sub. Make sure you shade in the bell. Hit the thumbs up. That helps with YouTube's algorithms. So that way, it gets my video out there to the public side. That helps get more subs. More subs, faster contest. You see where I'm coming at. And then feel free to share my videos too. Shout outs as well. And speaking of shout-outs, I would like to say a big thank you to Mr. Roy Smith from the N-Scale Union Pacific Evanston Subdivision. That is a long channel name, but hey, for giving me the most awesome shout-out ever. That was so totally unexpected. And there are other channels out there that have given me shout-outs as well, but the one on Dispatch was pretty awesome. So I really appreciate you doing that for me. And for all you who have subscribed, I appreciate your support. You are what makes this channel. And so, like I said, comment. And other than that, I'm going to let y'all have at it. So, y'all be safe out there with the showstopper going on. And have a great rest of the week into the weekend. And happy railroading.